Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so sorry I'm late. If you wouldn't believe it, I don't know why. Streamlabs must have just recently updated or something, but I had to completely rebuild every single scene. All of my scenes were just gone. So as soon as I sat down, I thought we were just gonna have some fun and hang out, and I don't have my shit together tonight. I'm sorry. But tonight's just going to be a fun hangout because we didn't get to do a proper Tell Me More episode this week. But I know that a lot of you guys like to hang out with the Armored Skeptic every week. So I thought that it would be fun if we just went over a couple fun things that happened in the news recently. Of course, the whole theory that the snow in Texas or in the southern western United States is fake. And I get why they're confused about it. I mean, these are people that might even be seeing snow like this for the first time in their entire lives, and they don't really have much experience with snow. But there's a couple of other fun things that have happened in the news that, I thought that would be worth talking about. The reason why there's no Tell Me More episode this week is because my co-writer, co-creator, also co-host of the Full Metal Tuxedo podcast, Patrice, she's been horribly ill this week, so we are just way behind schedule. But we're properly socially distancing today, so I've got her. I've got her on, so she can pop in every once in a while and say hi. Why don't you say hi to everybody, Patrice?
Hello, everybody. Oh my God, I'm so sick. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, she's completely out of it, but she'll be in the chat. Yeah, and she'll be throwing me some stuff to throw up on the screen every once in a while too. So she's not completely out of it, but it's not. This is not going to be your regular. When's the last time I did a stream on Armored Skeptic? Like years ago. So I don't even really know what you guys are expecting.
I see a lot of chats here. Didn't even know that you did streams, so
yeah, if you're interested in streams, Patrice and I every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream on the Armored Gregory channel, and then that's the Full Metal Tuxedo podcast. And confusingly enough, when we're done that, we then upload the edited final version of the podcast up to Armored Skeptic More. And the links are in the description for both of those things. Armored Skeptic More is mostly just the podcast right now, the final version. But the podcast is also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and a few other services. The last episode is not up yet on those services, but it will be very soon. But our Full Metal Tuxedo is available on the Armored Skeptic More. And we talk about a lot of the same stuff that we talk about on Tell Me More, so the strange and unexplained. Patrice is like she and I, our conversations when we first started talking, that is like the Tell Me More series was born of these conversations that we had with each other, because she is just as into cryptids, aliens, strange theories about what's going on behind the scenes in our world, and she's as into that as I am, but she's a little bit more of a believer than I am. I'm much more of a skeptic. So I know that a lot of people have been accusing me of going crazy because I tell these stories from like a believer perspective, but a lot of that is actually coming from Patrice.
Okay, yeah, just throw me right under the bus. Yeah, I'm the crazy one.
Yeah, Patrice is the crazy one, not me. But what I find really interesting, though, is she is a skeptic too, though. And quite often when we have these conversations, she'll come at me with the believer perspective and I'll be the skeptic pumping the brakes. But then I'll start to turn things around. And I'll start asking questions from a believer perspective too, and then she'll start being the skeptic. And it's really fun how we flip back and forth like that. And you see that in the podcast as well. So I highly suggest you check out our podcast. Each episode is between 2 and 3 hours long. So it's really good long format content. Really good for putting in your ears and just listening while you're doing chores around the house or chopping wood or mowing the lawn or you're off to school or off to work or whatever.
I love this chat. I'm not saying it was Patrice, but it's Patrice.
Armored Santa. Yeah, thank you, Limbo Master. Yes, Armored Santa. Patrice complimented my tie here as well. I thought that I would dress up nice for you guys.
Wow, I was like, whoa. I didn't realize that it was so formal.
I want to look good for Patrice too, obviously, but yeah, no, I thought.
Yeah, I can see Greg. He can see me.
Yeah.
But no one else can see me because trust me, it's not good.
No, she is literally hunkered down in bed, trying to stave off death.
I don't have COVID, by the way, just so everyone
She's
knows.
been tested twice, once when the symptoms started and again yesterday, and they both came back negative. She has all the symptoms of it, but don't worry, she does not have it.
Yeah.
But we're still socially
self-isolating.
distancing. Yeah, we're still socially distancing, obviously. She's still self-isolating. I've actually been really good at isolating during the pandemic. I've barely interacted with anybody. And I'm a little worried because my lungs are not amazing lungs. And obviously that is like the worst symptom people report is that they can't breathe. So I'm really worried that if that happens to me, it would not be good. But yeah, I've been good. I haven't even been sick once since it all started. So, which is probably not great for my immune system. It's good to get sick every once in a while.
Anyway, I'm gonna jump off because I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need no sick ASMR.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just gonna mute herself here, and she'll be in the chat though, and she'll be helping me out by throwing me some stuff. But no coughing over the microphone, Patrice.
No. Thanks. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so the first piece of news, or I don't know if you want to call it news, but the first thing I want to go over here is, oh God. So lots of people are pretty convinced that the snow in their backyards is not real, and that it's like plastic or fake or it's synthetic in some way. And we're dealing with people here that have never really seen snow before, or at least they very rarely see it, and so they don't have like a ton of experience with it. So most of these people are essentially putting lighters up against it, like this lady here, and intuitively, because that snow is made out of ice, that if you were to, she can't even hold it. So intuitively you think that because snow is made out of ice, that snow should melt when you expose it to a flame, that you think that you should just see water pouring off of it. And instead you're getting these black marks on it. So they think, oh, this is fake because it has these black marks. There's just so many of these. This actually got really popular on TikTok.
That doesn't melt. You see this? It doesn't melt. It burns, my friends. This is some nuclear snow that I never seen in my life. It does not drop nor melt. It burns. That's what the Texas snow is. So guess what? We cannot melt it too much.
Yeah, and what's crazy about this, though, is this isn't even a new phenomenon, that this becoming popular on the internet. About 2014, I think it was, there was another big snowfall, and people were throwing around the same theory, that it's not real snow, that it's synthetic, people are faking it.
Okay, now watch this.
That's a really weak flame.
So nothing's melting, and it's turning black.
Yeah.
And that's what blew me away. I've never known snow to do that before. But all of it's turning black. Can you see that?
So I love that she says, I've never known snow to do that before. But think of this logically, when is the last time you thought to put an open flame up against a snowball? This is not a normal thing that people do. This isn't even how you melt snow into water. So there's a few things, logically I want you to think about here. Okay, so these are actually a couple of the more popular videos here.
Okay. And another one. You guys
I love
Fresh ice fresh snow for all the haters.
So I love this, that she's using a tea candle. This is just about the weakest flame. She can't even keep the flame alive. So you've got a flame the size of like my...
Not melting. And turning black.
Yes.
Didn't melt. Come on, flame. There's a flame. Come on.
The flame is
Not
dying
melting.
under the snowball here. Which should be saying
Black.
something to
It's
her.
Not melting. See?
Wow. So one of the more interesting details here. So there's another one blackened on the snowball. Another one here. This one's
Trying to melt my snow with my fire.
This one's in Indiana. I saw another one from Arkansas.
Watch. It won't melt. The snow will not melt.
So, yeah, I want you to think a couple things logically here. Is like, yes, a snowball is technically made of ice. Like, that is what snow is. But how much of this snowball is ice and how much of it is air? Most of a snowball is air. Another one, yeah, lots of examples. Okay, this one's kind of interesting.
Edging this stove all night.
So you see, he's put a snowball on like a wood stove here. The snowball doesn't seem to be affected, but you put an ice cube on and the ice cube melts immediately. Okay, but this is what I mean by a snowball is mostly air and an ice cube is condensed thick water that's been frozen, obviously. So there's much less air in an ice cube than there is in a snowball. This one's from Arkansas. I mean, you guys get the point. I'm not going to show every single one I've got here. But you get the point.
It does have a little bit
It does have a little bit to it, I could say that, because it's turning black.
So it turns black. So why does it turn black, though? That's the other question. And that's because the flame is not clean, number one. The flame is like throwing soot off. So anything that you burn with an open flame, you are going to change it chemically. You're going to literally change the chemistry of it. So this is the most famous one. I'll just skip to the punchline here because
Out to our government and Bill Gates. Thank you, Bill Gates, for trying to fucking trick us that this is real snow. You'll see, it's not melting, and it's going to burn. Snow don't burn. Snow fucking melts. No water, no dripping, no nothing. If I put this shit in the microwave, it's going to start sparking.
God, she's a
because there's metal
potty
mixed
mouth.
in it. So you see that?
No way.
No melting.
It got harder. Try it again.
Now, as
Not
for
melting.
It's not.
as for it sparking in the microwave, I can't speak to that, but that is possible because you have to remember that snow also, unlike ice, doesn't just come from your tap and then you put it in your freezer. Snow is a precipitant, and the basic science with snow is that it can't turn from water to ice until it makes contact with a physical particle in the air. Dust, dirt, whatever kind of particulates end up floating in the air, smog even. As long as it can touch a particulate, then it will instantly turn into an ice particle. And then all those ice particles will meet in the air and then make a unique snowflake shape. You know, I'm sure that if you've been to elementary school, you know the basic science behind how a snowflake forms.
Water.
It's just burning.
Put it closer. What the hell?
See? Goes out to.
So the other thing that people are pointing out too is that, yeah, I'll get an image up here of just a snowball that's burned. Okay, so another thing that people are pointing out here is that when you smell it, it tastes kind of, or smells kind of like plastic. I know that's not intuitive. Again, you think this is just hydrogen and oxygen, basically H2O. So when you put a flame on it, what you should see is water dripping. Okay, I'm going to grab an ice cube, and I brought some snow inside, and I'm going to show you exactly. This is real, genuine Canadian snow, ladies and gentlemen. The real deal. And it's going to behave the exact same way as this Texas, Arkansas, Alabama, whatever the snow is all from. So give me 1 second here. So I'm going to start off with the ice cube here. Yeah, you don't need two of me, eh? Okay, so I'm going to start with the ice cube here. And the ice cube's already going to start melting in my hand. I got to aim this properly because I don't want it. Okay. The ice cube's going to immediately start melting in my hand. Oh, where did my lighter go? I had it right here. Oh no. Technical difficulty. So the ice is already melting before I even start the experiment here. So just goes to show, like, this is a really good reference. So can you see that? Okay. So you're going to notice this perfectly normal ice cube. It's just, I swear to God, it's just ice from my freezer. See? It's black. Okay. So that's very normal. Now I'm going to leave this ice cube in this cup here. It's perfectly black and smells like plastic. Now I definitely got water all over my computer here, so that's not awesome. Okay, sorry. I need to get a new microphone. This thing is busted. Anyways, I'm going to leave this ice cube in the water here, and when it turns into water, rather, all of that black soot is actually going to float on top, because not only have I introduced a new chemical to the ice cube by, you know, using the fuel from this, and any lighter has a fuel that will leave some soot behind. but I'm also changing, like, it's basic chemistry. When you burn something, it burns, regardless of what it is. Even water will burn. Like, the thing is, though, that water likes to evaporate. Water has a very low evaporation level. Okay, so I got some snow here. I'm going to freeze my delicate hands in the snow. This is the real McCoy, genuine Canadian snow. It does not get any more real than this snow. So I'm going to hold this one a little bit further back, so hopefully you can see this. Yes, okay. Genuine Canadian snow. And it's already turning black. See, you can already see a black mark on it. And again, it smells kind of like plastic. So I'm going to burn this a little bit longer. So it's not immediately melting. So what's happening is that it's obviously having an effect on the ice cubes, or on the ice, particles. The snowball is, again, mostly air. So a lot of the heat that I'm introducing to the snowball is kind of just traveling in and dissipating. And the snowball, again, is larger than the flame and more powerful than the flame. And if you've ever put a bucket of water over a campfire, if there's more water than there is fire, then the water wins. But if you only pour a glass of water on a campfire, you'll get a sizzle, but then the fire will ultimately win the battle. It's all about how much. If I were to take a flamethrower to this, it would obviously immediately disappear. So there is a major difference in energy here. So it is a battle of the energies. But the other thing is that some of the ice is melting in my hand as I'm holding it, but no water is dripping from the flame. So these people are assuming that if you add a flame to a snowball, that water should pour off of it the same way it was pouring off of the ice cube. But because there's more air in it, it's instantly evaporating, and it's instantly turning into steam. And it's happening so quickly, and again, because the flame is so small, happening on such a small scale, you're just not seeing it happen. But, you get your average Texan. I know that there's parts of Texas that get snow, like northern Texas. I don't know if they get it every year, but I know Texans that have witnessed snow before. But yeah, so you add dealing with a bunch of people who've just never have dealt with snow before. And I think I broke my snowball. Oh no, it's fine. Yes, and dare I say, it smells like burnt plastic. So, yeah. The real question is, and I know I'm not the first person to ask this, but the theory is that they introduced this fake snow to screw everything up as a fake weather event. And I won't, maybe we'll do an episode one day on weather control, because weather control is possible, and they've admitted to doing it. Weather experiments, and they've admitted that there are different ways to control the weather. Cloud seeding, and then the whole HARP argument. HARP absolutely has the ability to manipulate weather. Yeah. Apparently I don't look so amazing on the stream here. Maybe I should, I don't know, it looks really good on my end, but maybe it's just not coming through very good. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, HARP absolutely does have the ability to manipulate weather, but the argument is, are they actually doing that? There's very little evidence to prove that. But regardless of weather modification, weather manipulation, it doesn't make any sense to put fake snow, plastic snow, blanket it all over the southwestern United States. Because, so yeah, what their argument is not only does it smell fake, it doesn't melt, it leaves a burn mark or whatever, but like, yeah, it doesn't melt at all. They're just saying that it doesn't melt at all. So what is the plan then? Is the plan to just leave it there forever? Like, are people not going to catch on when, you know, the heat of the summer rolls around and there's still like 6 inches of snow on the ground? Even that woman that was chipping away at the snow, she had to chip away at it to get the soft stuff underneath. I actually had to do that today too, because the last 3 or 4 days have been +1 above freezing. And Limbo Master says make a ghost video. Well, do you want me to do that tonight? Maybe, you know, if we have time at the end of the stream, I might try to talk to the spirits. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, we're getting a thumbs up from the producer on that one. Yeah, so she had to chip away at it, and the reason for that is because the top layer of the snow, like, this is like the same logic of how snowball's even made. So this is the loose stuff, and when it's loose, it's pretty useless. You can't really do anything with it. But the heat of your hand, like even just being able to turn it into a snowball, you're melting it to do that. Like, it is now a solid individual object, and that's because the heat of my hand has forced it to take that shape. Yes, Patrice would like to don't forget your microphone.
If people think that it's fake, like what's the main consensus of it? Is it plastic, or is it just like like snow machine fake? Like, what are they thinking?
Well, even okay, so snow, that's a really good question. Snow machine snow is artificial in that nature didn't create it, but it's still chemically and physically identical to real snow. The only difference is that it comes out more like this, like sort of just this chopped up stuff, as opposed to coming out in individual beautiful flakes. So like when I gathered this snow, I had to chop it up as well. So the point I was making about her having to chop it up, the reason she had to chop it up is because the top layer of it had melted into like an icy glaze. And that just happens from being in the sun. It happens anytime the weather gets warm and then refreezes again. The top layer obviously is melting. And yeah, so I think that this was a really fun one. I think what made this one fun is that it was all over TikTok. And I think it was so funny that TikTok was banned. I don't know if that's ever going to officially happen in the States, because there's obviously Americans are still using it. But the fact that this spread over TikTok like wildfire, I find that so hilarious, because obviously TikTok is not exactly intellectual central or anything. And again, we're dealing with people that have never experienced snow before. Like, yes, go ahead, Patrice.
I know that there's no stupid questions, only stupid
No,
people.
correct.
But
No stupid questions.
Only stupid people, which I may be one. But if you like start a fire on an ice, like say an iceberg, or like like iced over, like on a lake or something, what happens?
Well, okay, so the heat.
Like, do people do that? I don't know. Like, you know, when you'd like start a fire, if there was snow and ice everywhere else, and there's nowhere clear, like no frozen ground or anything.
Yeah, you can do
and
that.
you had to start it on ice. Does that ice then melt?
No.
Eventually?
No.
Or is it just so hardly frozen
No.
that it won't melt?
If the ice is thick enough that you can safely walk and skate on it, then no, you cannot build a fire large enough to melt it. You will get a little bit maybe of surface water, but again, remember the metaphor that I was using of, you know, putting a glass of water on a campfire over putting a bucket of water on a campfire. You're talking about like a match burning on an entire iceberg. Like when you're in the middle of a lake, that is such a huge sheet of ice, and ice shares its energy. Well, I mean, it's a lack of heat, but it's like any heat you introduce to it is going to get superseded by all the cold along the entire sheet. So even if you built a fire, like a giant pyre fire, like a giant one on the lake, and burnt it for hours or days, again, you'd probably get like a little pool of water. But with the heat wants to go up so quickly that very little of it is actually going to affect the lake. I don't know, maybe if you burnt it, maybe if you burnt it for like 2 or 3 days straight and kept it big and kept it strong enough, you can make the ice weak enough that you probably wouldn't want to walk on it anymore. But I can't see it getting so weak that you literally melt it right down to the lake.
So could that be what the phenomena that we're seeing is that it's literally just, it's basically now ice that's been frozen for such a long time. You know, if it was fresh snow, then it would kind of be more slushy and melt. But if it's frozen for a longer period of time, well, then it then melts quicker. I don't know.
It's going to be kind of hard to demonstrate without burning my hand here, but here's just some snow that I haven't compacted into ice, into like a ball. And yeah, you guys can't see this probably, but I'm watching, it's starting to disappear. It's starting to disappear, and that's because I have not compacted it into a snowball. So it's turning clear now. Wow. You know, the flame is not really burning me because the ice is protecting me. That's kind of an interesting, but it's actually melting very quickly now under the flame. And that's because it is now much more like a fresh snow. It's much more like Patrice just said, it had just freshly fallen. It's kind of like it's feathered out more. It has not been compacted together. So anyways, that answers that question. And now I need a towel. Here's my pant leg. Good enough. All right. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and read a couple super chats before we get to the next subject here. I hope I didn't miss any other channel members there that were talking. Limbo Master is pretty much the only one that I saw there. But thanks for all the comments there, Limbo Master. Patrice disappeared on me. I hope she'll be back. I get nervous when I'm alone. Okay, so when... Here we go. Okay. Thiago Pietro Zoccoli. Important reminder. When the red package with the yellow and black stripes arrive, please don't open it. Put it in the bathtub or something. Well, that sounds sketchy as hell. Maybe I'll just return to sender. I used to have a P.O. box, and I relinquished my key to it a while ago. So, yeah, don't send me any more stuff over the P.O. box, guys. That was fun for a while, but I just can't keep up with it. And the place that my P.O. box was, it started to turn into a pain in the ass anyways, because they wouldn't even let me in the building after the lockdown restrictions started. And yeah, so But thank you. Thank you, though. Lemony Pie says, showing big gratty for Patty. Oh. That's for you, Patrice. Super chat from I'm a big fellow. I know, I'm not saying that word. He said, I found synthetic snow in my yard. It was yellow. Explain that, Mr. Science Man. Well, I don't know. Did you try tasting it? I'm a big fellow. Maybe you should try tasting it next time you see yellow snow. Just make sure that you're absolutely positive that it's synthetic, you know? So Max Tyler says, they make fake snow for ski resorts every year. Why would they need it to be plastic? Exactly. Like, the science behind making snow is really simple. And so I'm actually really glad that you and Patrice brought that up. So the way snow machines work is they literally put a hose and they dissipate water vapor through a fan, and the fan blows it up into the sky as high as possible. And that is not the best snow. If you've ever been a skier or a snowboarder, I used to snowboard every year. I loved it. I've been skiing a few times too. And there's a huge difference between the artificial snow that the snow machines make and fresh powder, the real thing. The real thing is a lot more fun. It behaves. I like the way it behaves a lot better, the way that you can carve into it. And this artificial one is more like just like a loose ice rink. It's more like it's, I don't really know how to describe it, but it is like this stuff that I've collected is a little bit more like the fake snow because it's, of the way that it's been sitting, on the ground for days now. So you get rid of the individual flakes and you kind of just break it down into crystals. And and it's the same thing though, is that when they're blowing that water vapor into the air, it doesn't just immediately freeze into snow and then fall to the ground. It too, just like the real thing, has to find a particle in the air, a dust particle or something, and hit that to freeze into an ice crystal. But unlike the stuff that falls from the sky, it doesn't have enough time to meet other ice crystals and form proper snowflakes. So you sort of just get this scattering of essentially just ice crystals, which chemically is the same thing as a snowflake, but physically is different. I think you get the point. Arthur Kane, I live in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Trust me, it's actual ice and snow that fell. Now, whether or not it was artificial storm that was produced by weather control, I don't know. However, I'm skeptical of that too. Well, okay, so the reason you guys got snow down there, though, is our fault. It's the Arctic's fault. So every year, almost once a year, I have an uncle that's actually a weatherman. He's one of the more well-known, like, national weathermen, meteorologists in Canada. I don't think I should say his name, but I don't want people thinking that we're associated with each other, like, professionally, but obviously I respect the hell out of the guy. But he talks about this every year too. We call it the Polar Vortex. So basically what happens is the Arctic, like, atmosphere, like the literal Arctic weather comes down and makes its home in the southern part of Canada. So when you get like north of 60, I'm pretty sure that's the Arctic Circle. So there isn't as much now as there used to be, but that's where the permafrost is. That's the place where it's just always frozen. Even in the warm summer where the air is nice and warm, the ground is still frozen, you know, a few feet underneath. So, anyways, that air, that Arctic air, usually it blows down. Like the winter weather starts when that air starts blowing down anyways. But then what happens with the polar vortex is it's kind of like Arctic air to the max. It gets like minus 30 around here. The wind chill will even go down to minus 40 sometimes Celsius. That's normal. That's normal. I try to use feet and inches as much as I can on my channel because I know most of my followers are American, I can't do Fahrenheit. Like I've learned miles, I've learned feet, I've learned inches, but I just can't learn Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit makes no sense. Like what is the temperature for freezing in Fahrenheit? It's some random number like 13 or something, or is it 32? I don't even know. It's just like a random number. And then the number for boiling again is also a random number. I think that you based it on like body temperatures for the human body. I don't know. With Celsius though, it's so simple. Water freezes at 0 degrees and water boils at 100 degrees. Logical, makes sense. Kilometers too, makes sense. Centimeters, millimeters, decimeters. We don't really use decimeters that often. A decimeter is like almost 2 inches, I think. Somewhere around 2 or 3 inches. I can't remember. I can't remember the last time I used a decimeter. And then obviously meters. Meters is superior to yards as well. Yeah, so we got a couple more super chats here. Alex says, "Hey man, been watching your stuff since like 2016. Love your Tell Me More series. Keep up the good work and stay skeptical." Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that. Lemony Pie again says, "Just wondering, are you thinking of returning to the fake history videos or is it finished?" I'm absolutely going to revisit that series. I don't want to give too much away or come down too hard on people that make that kind of content, but in the last few months, so okay, those videos take like the series that I do with Patrice, the Tell Me More series, like we make 4 of those a month on average, and they take as much work to make as when I was doing it myself and I was making like 1 video a month. So like we're condensing a ton of research, a ton of graphic design, animation, and then editing and all that, PR, all that into a 1 week period, whereas I used to do it in a month. So that's why it's like so easy for us to fall behind. One little hiccup and we're screwed. One little sinus congestion cold and we're screwed. Patrice.
I'm not just a drama queen. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit of a drama queen, but I think that you're the diva.
I am the beautiful face of the channel after all. I'm allowed to be a bit of a diva.
Yeah, you are the better looking one. Oh, that's enough from me.
But anyways, in the last few months of research for that, I was starting, it was the research for the last video I did, the one about the giants, and then researching in for what I was going to do as my next video after that. I was going to talk, we started researching more about the cone heads and the giants and all that, and we found a horrendous amount of people that push those theories that do it from Patrice is looking at me like she's worried about what I'm going to say. Because I can't say it because I don't want to inflame that community. But there are a lot of people in those communities that push those theories for nefarious purposes. And I started to get worried that I was emboldening them, and also worried that anybody would think that I was even remotely associated with that. I might come out and talk about that eventually, but I definitely am going to make another fake history video, but I feel like it's going to be a little bit different, or at least it's going to be different than what I was planning for my next video anyways. Tossed Llama. I love llamas. This says, thoughts on Rocco's basilics. Okay, what is that? Wow. You just forced me to Google something. Oh, the most terrifying thought experiment. Patrice, you're going to have to read up on that one for me. I'll send you... Patrice will read up for that, and then I'll answer that after the next segment. So okay, Skippy Cat says, so basically the Polar Vortex Kamehameha Texas. That's exactly what happened. So down the prairies, like Saskatchewan and Alberta, that's flat. That's our Canada's flatland, and that matches up with the United States' flatland. And that whole region can basically behave as like a wind tunnel between the mountains and the highlands. So all that Arctic air just blasted straight down all the way down the United States, and it just demolished the southern United States. So that's exactly what happened. And one more from Arthur Kane, who didn't write anything. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the super chat, everybody. I'll read some more super chats after the next segment. So please keep sending them in. I appreciate them so much, guys. So yeah, Patrice, what do we have here?
Oh, I'm just gonna say that the first line of the first article that I found is warning, this article may commit you to an eternity of suffering and torment.
Oh, wow. Well, the very first thing I saw was that it's the most terrifying thought experiment. So
yes. I don't know, I've not heard of it.
What's the name of that thought experiment that everybody always talks about? This like hypothetical group that deals with the strangest, most bizarre.
Which one? SCPs.
SCPs.
Is that what you're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Secure, contain, protect.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really interesting thought experiments with that are all very terrifying. Like the one thought experiment of this pregnant woman that has to be constantly tortured, and the torture has to be changed every day.
What a bloody like. And that there's so many SCPs, and then you choose that one.
And that if the torturer shows any amount of empathy for her, or lets up on the torture for 1 second, he ends up getting fired. Yeah. So, but then it's because it turns out that if she is like happy for 1 second, she gives birth to the Antichrist who destroys the planet. And that's the only way to stop it from happening. So it's like a lot of crazy stuff like that.
They've been around for a while. SCPs, they're cool.
Yeah, they're cool. Well, not that one in
particular. I think wasn't there a movie? Yeah, I know. Great. Trust you to always choose the most YouTube-friendly example.
I picked that one because there is a YouTube video about it, so I figured I'd be okay. But that's not been my track record. YouTube, for some reason, has been screwing me algorithmically lately, but I'm not going to complain about that today.
Yeah, I feel like torturing pregnant women is probably up there.
So is the basilic? What did you?
No, I didn't. Only got to that sentence and stopped.
I want you to give me I want you to give me like a paraphrased version of it that is YouTube friendly. So okay. We'll get to that.
I'll give it a shot.
We'll get to that after the next segment. I'll give you a minute or two to read it. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. By the way, I know that this stream was a bit impromptu. I just wanted to make sure that you guys had a little bit of content today, because I actually felt bad that I didn't give you a video, and that's kind of weird for me, because I would sometimes go a full month or sometimes even 2 months without uploading anything, and it didn't really bother me at all. But now that we've been getting into this weekly video thing, and because of the, you know, the global condition, everybody's stuck at home, I really want to give you guys stuff to watch every single week, because I know how stir crazy I've been getting with this, with the isolating and stuff, and how like I just keep going to the YouTube feed trying to find something to occupy my time. And that's the other reason that we started the podcast, because it's long form. You know, it gives you something to listen to for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. So yeah, I actually felt bad that I didn't have a video up this week for you guys. Let's see. Where are my
Actually,
tabs?
can I just add to that and say that all the well wishes that I got, and yeah, that was really touching for me, that you guys took time out of your day just to check on me and say that I was all right, and to hope that I'm doing better, especially like what Greg just said, in the way that the world is at the moment. I'm sure that everybody has been affected in some way or another by something awful in the last kind of 6 to 12 months. Yeah, so I found it really beautiful that even to take a moment of your day just to see how I am, and just to send your well wishes to me, that meant a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, and I've been really impressed with the way that all of you have been, you know, taking the new series, taking the new podcast. I really appreciate that you guys have been supporting us so much, just in general. And yeah, and we've been building a really, like, honestly, this whole like global situation has really helped show that we've built a beautiful community of really great people. And I'm so happy. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of what we have together. And I love your input. I love how involved you guys are getting. And yeah, and it means the world to me that you're so supportive of us. So thank you guys so much. So here we go. Let's go on to the next segment. So this is kind of some old school skeptic stuff. I know you're going to love it. So, if you've been following me since the beginning, you know that I used to make like atheist content. I would not describe myself as an atheist. The Armored Skeptic character is an atheist skeptic, but I'm not. I'm a skeptic, but I'm not an atheist. But one of these arguments that always came up, that always bothered the hell out of me, was Christians, especially like the Hovens and the most popular Christian mouthpieces on the early days of the internet. They would always talk about how to be moral, you have to believe in God. And in their mind, you can't even be moral if you don't believe in a creator God, and that all morality comes from God, and that a denial of him is a denial of morality. And that and they'll even say, though, that even atheists derive their morality from God. So that obviously is just a terrible argument. Morality, I always argued, even if I think I was like a devout religious person, I would argue that morality comes from, it's like a social thing that we've developed. It's a social thing that we've developed, you know, what's best for the tribe kind of mentality. So we have like a well-rounded, normal person with a proper moral compass and with empathy and everything. Like we develop empathy as a way to understand how our actions affect the people around us. So most people won't commit murder, not because they're worried about the consequences. Like the people who don't murder because they worry about the consequences, those are the crazy people. Normal people don't murder because it's like, morally wrong, and because you can put yourselves in the shoes of the victim and the family, the survivors of the victim, and you know that committing that murder will hurt so many people that you don't want to inflict that pain onto people. That is like that's a normal, like, that is essentially where morality is derived from. And it's from like millions of years of we as monkeys interacting with each other. Even just like watch chimpanzees. Sure, two tribes of chimpanzees will war with each other and be pretty brutal to each other. But each individual tribe of chimpanzees, they share with each other. They're good to each other. They help each other out, and they don't unnecessarily harm each other, because what they want to create like a sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just talking to myself.
Okay.
I'm muted, but I didn't. I was responding to you, but I didn't expect you to see. So I was just saying, yeah, chimpanzees can also rip each other's arms off.
But what they do, but they don't tend to do that within their own tribe group. They tend to do that to other tribes of chimpanzees. But I mean, it's not like chimpanzees don't commit murder. But I just mean, like, if you watch the way that they cooperate with each other, like, obviously there's bad chimpanzees just like there's bad people, but like I said, it's millions of years of evolution. Like, arguably we're cognitively more complex than a chimpanzee. So though we are just as involved as them. There are interesting things chimpanzees can do that make them seem smarter than us. Like, have you seen that experiment where they have a chimpanzee, punch in numbers from 1 to 10, and then after they do that, they get like a little treat. So they taught chimpanzees numbers, but what they'll do is they'll flash all the numbers up on the screen, and they'll be in random order, and they just flash it for 1 second. Just like 1 second, and the chimpanzee can remember where each number was. Their short-term memory is incredible, and our short-term memory in comparison is terrible. And the cognitive payoff for that is that we can talk, and that we can write down stuff. So we have a better long-term memory because we can actually inscribe things permanently onto rock and paper and on the internet. Like, this is all stuff that chimpanzees can't do. So, like, the benefit of losing the short-term memory is that we have the ability for more complex thought that we can transfer into the future. Anyways, all that about morality. The point is that this is about morality. So there was a study done, and this was actually just released on the 24th of February, so only yesterday. Atheists and believers both have moral compasses, but with key differences. Belief in God associated with stronger endorsement of moral values that promote group cohesion. So that part is true, that people that believe in God, they think that they are morally superior. Like, that is... I don't think I need to prove that. I've dealt with these Christians that believe this. I mean, that's how I even set up this whole segment, is having to deal with these Christians that literally believe that you have to believe in God to have a moral compass. So I know that a lot of my followers are religious, and a lot of my friends come from religious families, a lot of them Catholic. So this is a thing that even Jesus pointed out, is that very religious people tend to be very judgmental towards other people. And they think that just by the virtue of them holding the title of Christian or holding the title of like a religious figure or religious belief system, that virtue in and of itself supersedes any of their actions. But it's one thing to say I'm a Christian and I'm moral, but it's another to prove that thing. And that's what he meant when he said, people think that he said, judge not, lest ye be judged. He never said that. What he said was, before you point out the splinter in your eye, remove the log from yours. That's the exact quote. So it's not don't judge. It's don't judge people on things that you yourself are more guilty of than them. And to throw one religion under the bus here, Catholicism. I know a lot of Catholics that are really bad for this. And I almost feel that it's the confession booth that makes them feel that they can do that, because that after doing any sin, after committing any moral atrocity, they can just go to the confession booth and toss the parishioner a few bucks, and then the parishioner will forgive them, and then they feel morally absolved of what they've done. And that's like a very dangerous practice, but I'm not going to harp on that for too long. So new study suggests that... Oh, sorry, Patrice.
I was just going to say, just to play the devil's advocate.
Oh, God.
I always find it funny, like you said, that religious people take a more like morally sanctimonious route, right? However, I always feel that atheists always feel like they're more intelligent.
Well, you know what? I'll even say not only that, but atheists also play the we're morally superior card. That's what humanism is all about. Humanism is like an attempt to prove that secularism can be moral. But it's a little bit of hammering a square peg through a less square hole, because you're adding on an identity to atheism and secularism that doesn't need to be there. But I'll agree with that, actually, that atheists will do the same shit. Well, they'll say, well, we're morally superior, we're smarter, we're more
I don't know if they like. I know obviously that you've come from the atheist online community.
Mm-hmm.
Do you honestly think that they are more morally superior?
Yes.
Okay.
I do think that they believe that, yes. But as this study is about to prove, statistically, they're correct. But that doesn't mean, same thing, that doesn't mean by virtue of being an atheist, you are morally superior. So that is the argument, like, you have to remember here. Because I know a lot of atheists who think they're morally superior and, like, have started charities or give to charities, but they're total pieces of shit. Like, terrible people. Excuse me. I still have this giant bucket of snow next to me. I just looked over and I'm like, oh, I have snow in my apartment. Still black, by the way. Can you see that? Yes, still black.
You should have renamed the stream "Watching Ice Melt."
Yeah, well, still smells like. Okay, so the ice cube is still melting. I kind of wanted to show you. You're not gonna be able to see it because there's still an ice cube in there. But the carbon, like the burn mark, is actually separated from the cube here. Can you see that? Oh, there's a lot of light. So this carbon is separated from the cube. So I'll try my best to show. I'm gonna have to fish it out after this cube is melted. But the carbon, after the cube melts, the burn mark actually floats on top of the water and stays, which is just more proof that the burn on the snowball is not literally burned snow. Okay, so anyways, a new study suggests that while atheists and theists share moral values related to protecting vulnerable individuals, atheists are less likely to endorse values that promote group cohesion and more inclined to judge the morality of actions based on their consequences. Thomas Stahl of the University of Illinois at Chicago presents these findings in the open access journal PLOS1, PLOS1, in January 24th, 2021. Wow. You know, I used to think that I was dyslexic, and maybe I am dyslexic. I've gotten so much better at reading. I can read so much faster and more efficiently now. Okay. So, in many countries, including the U.S., widespread cultural beliefs hold that atheists lack a moral compass, which I've said twice already. However, no previous studies have systematically examined the differences between atheists and theists' concepts of morality. To address this gap, Stahl conducted 2 surveys examining the moral values of 429 American atheists and theists via Amazon's Mechanical Turk platform. Well, that's good. He did it using social distancing. That's actually a really interesting thing, that so many studies are being done online now. That people are not literally being called in. We got this whole new era of internet-based study now. He conducted 2 larger surveys involving 4,200 atheists and theists from the U.S., a predominantly religious country, and Sweden, a predominantly irreligious country. Analysis of the results suggests that theists are more inclined than atheists to endorse moral values that promote group cohesion. Meanwhile, atheists are more likely to judge the morality of action based on its consequences. However, atheists and theists appear to align on moral values related to protecting vulnerable individuals, liberty versus oppression, and being epistemically rational. How do you pronounce that word? Epistemically. I've never seen that word before. I.e., therefore, as in believing in claims when they are evidence-based and being skeptical about claims not backed by evidence. Well, okay. The survey results also provide clues as to why atheists and theists' moral compasses may be calibrated differently. The distinctions may stem from part of theists' increased exposure to community engagement and belief-based behaviors that would be costly if the beliefs were false, such as attending religious meetings. So that's actually what I was actually going to suggest, and I'm glad I didn't jump the gun on that. So my feeling was that a lot of religion is about community-based beliefs, but part of that is that everybody knows a person who is very good at appearing like a good person on the outside, or appearing like they're put together, that they're wealthy, or that they're successful, that they're very good at appearing on the outside that they just have all their shit together. But once you get to know them personally, you know that behind that facade, like their life is broken, they're in a massive debt, they do terrible things, and they're just very dishonest. And I'm not saying that religious people are that, but that when you are part of a community of people that you're trying to fit in with on that level, it makes you far more inclined to put up a facade so that you're not judged by other members of that community, or you're not looked down upon by them. Everybody in that community, especially of religious believers, want to appear that they're all on the same moral level. And the only way to do that, when, like this study says, that people are they're being judged on a curve. They're being judged based on the community standards and based on how their actions affect the community as a whole. The only way to defend against that in like a sort of like a constant way is to create this facade that you present yourself as. You had something to say, Patrice.
Sorry, I don't want to break your train of
No,
thought. I just looked it up. It was epistemically, which is relating to knowledge.
Okay.
Of or relating to knowledge.
I could tell that the root word was epistemology.
Which is a form of philosophy.
Yeah. So.
A source of knowledge.
Right, but I couldn't tell what it actually meant in the context of this. So thank you for that. Okay, so differences in cognitive style may also contribute. Yeah.
Did you see that super chat? Is that what you're laughing at? I'm laughing at that super chat.
I'm not caught up on the super chats here. Yeah, I'll read that later. So differences in cognitive style and levels of perceived existential threat may also contribute. Future studies could further explore these potential causal relationships. So yeah, that's the other thing, is that Christians or religious people in general sort of base their moral standards on more abstract concepts, things that we can't prove exist, like the devil, for example. Like you could argue, yeah, it's immoral to be like the devil. If you're religious, that makes sense. But if you don't believe that the devil exists, then like that in and of itself is a pretty like meaningless statement. Especially when there's a lot of people that believe that Satan is a good person, like Gnostics or the Church of Satan. So it all depends on, the environment and the community that you're in. So these findings suggest that the widespread idea that atheists are immoral may arise in part from their weak endorsement of moral values that promote group cohesion and their consequence-based, case-by-case moral judgment of actions. So I think that that's an important thing to remember in general is I feel, too, that atheists are not only not as interested in group cohesion when it comes to... I find that a lot of atheists are actually kind of secularists. And what that means is that they're sort of just fine with people believing what they want to believe. And I'll admit that I'm a secularist at very least. That I think that people should be allowed to believe what they want. And that believing that is accepting that on some level there will be no group cohesion. But I think that that's fine. That I think it takes many different kinds to make the world go round. But, Christians from America, this study is about American Christians. I often see them on the news complaining that other people are not like them. And it is very much more of a religious thing to sort of have that mindset. So Stahl adds that the most general take-home message from these studies is that people who do not believe in God do have a moral compass. In fact, they share many of the same moral concerns that religious believers have, such as concerns about fairness and about protecting vulnerable individuals from harm. Yeah, and I think that just, again, it's like atheists are all about individuality. They're about being, they just want to be left alone. And a lot of atheists, a lot of people who identify as atheists have come from religion. So their desire to be left alone and to be recognized as an individual with individual thoughts and beliefs is part of a rejection of that system that they used to be a part of, where they were just overwhelmed with the groupthink of trying to fulfill the belief system and the moral value system and everything that is created within their religious group. And that can be very smothering. I don't actually know a ton of atheists who didn't come out of religion. I know a few. I know a few people that call themselves atheists that never once believed in God in their entire life and were never forced to. But I feel like most people that were in that situation, who never had to come out of religion, they don't call themselves atheists even when they are. And, I think that there was a time there definitely was a time when I considered myself an atheist. But I feel like that was part of my journey of coming out of like the religious dogmatic mindset. That I sort of needed that overcorrection so that I could see it from both sides before I came to my final conclusion. Yes, go ahead, Patrice.
People that don't come from a religious background don't take the time and effort to label themselves as an atheist. It's only people who have been religious.
Well, that's what I was
They want to
just
make
saying.
a point that they don't believe anymore.
But that's just what I was. That's what I was saying. But why?
Yeah.
Why do you think that though?
Because for people that, you know, are truly kind of agnostic or don't care about that, like, it's not a point that they have to make.
It's just that they've never had to think about it, basically.
Yeah, because it was part of their identity for so long, and so it's like the new renewal of their identity.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, because like I wasn't raised in a religious household, but I went to a religious school, so that was like a really wild experience to be having serious conversations with adults about completely made up character like it was real.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Where I was very young when I was going to church camps and Sunday school and stuff like that. So I was very much indoctrinated into a religious mindset at a very young age. So that when I came into an adult and people started talking about, you know, the figures of the Bible like they were real people and stuff like that, that wasn't weird for me. It wasn't until I started forcing myself to think about it that yeah, I had to have that sort of deconversion. So I think it is the deconversion that sort of makes most people say, okay, I'm atheist now because I don't believe in any of this. And I'm not saying that any of you and all of you that have been through that you also have overcorrected. That's just my own conviction about my own beliefs. Anyways, moving on here. However, disbelievers are less inclined than believers to endorse moral values that serve group cohesion. So yeah, again, he's said this, like, this article has said this like 4 or 5 times already. Such as having respectful, sorry, I was just bragging about how good I am at reading. Such as having respect for authorities, in-group loyalty, and sanctity. Well, again, that's sort of that was the whole argument I was making about religious groups, having like a moral, like a cohesion within the group, and that it's more important to them to maintain that sort of group cohesion than it is for them to actually fulfill any of those moral standards that are created within the group. It's possible, so like that kind of mentality. So the main reason why that's a problem or like dangerous or can cause that sort of disconnect, I think that's a better way to put it, is that disconnect between saying you're religious and a believer and you're moral and then actually behaving in that way, is having that group cohesion thing, that we need to save the group, is it makes you more likely to do bad things for the group and then justify it as well. So like a mild example is like somebody's kid like destroyed a bunch of private property in the neighborhood, and it was a bunch of people that also go to the same church. So the church as a whole might want to bury that story and then not punish the kid for it because they don't want people to know that kind of thing happened within their community. That's one example. Another is like the church could have like a strict never punch somebody in the face rule, right? Don't do that. We don't do that ever, no matter what. But then one day somebody walks up to the church with a torch and wants to burn it down. Well, you got to stop that person. You punch him in the face. You know, and I obviously, I'm not saying that it's bad to do that, but, you know, within their own moral system, it's they that believe that you're not supposed to do that, but they break their own rule to save the church from literally burning down. So it creates that disconnect because reality, that's a thing that I think that secularists and atheists and non-believers sort of recognize. And that's when it comes down, that's why they're more about individual choices and individual morality, because each situation requires a different sort of solution to it. and a different action and reaction to each thing that happens. So it is possible that the negative stereotype of atheists as immoral may stem in part from the fact that they are less inclined than religious people to view respect for authority, in-group loyalty, and sanctity as relevant for morality. And they are more likely to make moral judgments about harm on a consequentialist case-by-case basis. Yeah, and I think I kind of literally just said that. Did you have any other thoughts before I move on to more super chats? No. I'm so smart that I said it all. That's what Patrice just said. I could see her lips making that movement there. So I saw a couple more super chats pop up here, so let me just read those for you guys. Sorry, I have so many windows open here. Oh, here it is. Okay. Limbo Master, punch is bad. Well, punch is bad. That's right, Limbo Master. But sometimes you have to punch somebody. Like, that is just the reality of things. Sometimes you have to punch. Sometimes punch is good. And that's sort of like the duality of morality. So we've been up for just shy of 2 hours now. So we only have a couple more things to go through. It'll just be quick and fun. But I'm just going to go through a couple more super chats now. Okay, so... Chronic says, info hazard with the Roko's Basilic. Oh, did you read up on what the Roko's Basilic was?
Look, it might be because I'm sick, or it might be because it's just over my head, but I'm going to have to, like, look at it a bit more closer. Like, I couldn't just read it and then tell you what it is.
Well, seeing here with...
From what it's like some kind of weird AI thing.
Okay.
It's like where you die, you're continuously resurrected or something. And so it's almost like a...
Oh, so it's like a forced reincarnation thing? So anyway,
which is really funny considering we were talking about AI literally this morning.
I think I've actually heard, now that I'm like, the info hazard, thanks for the info hazard warning though, because I think that means that we might not want to discuss it. For monetization reasons. But I think that the more we're talking about it, the more I'm remembering that I think I've heard about this before. So Ed Mann says, make a vid on the haunted Queen Mary ship. Queen Mary ship. That's a... Oh, yeah. So we actually wanted to do an episode on haunted ships because there's a couple of battleships and an aircraft carrier in the United States that are famously haunted. One you can even like take haunted tours of and spend the night in. Patrice and I think we want to do that sometime. Spend the night in that haunted battleship. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, but those creepy like cutouts.
Oh yeah, that one battleship does have cardboard cutouts.
Or mannequins and stuff.
Yeah, they're not. They don't have any features. There's no faces or hands or anything, but they're in the like the silhouette of a person, and they have them in like the engine room and in the control room and stuff. They are creepy as hell.
I feel like the mannequins would be scarier than ghosts.
I
don't believe in ghosts, so I'd be more afraid of the mannequins.
I don't have any phobias, but the closest thing to a phobia that I have is mannequins. For some reason, for the first like split second that I see one in the corner of my eye, it freaks me out every time.
Oh my god, you have to look up the early like Victorian and also early 1900s French wax mannequins. They were like next level realistic.
Really?
Like crazy realistic.
I
Yes.
wonder, you know, going into my believer mindset here for a second. I wonder if the reason I have this thing about mannequins is because I have like a past life or a genetic memory of like some sort of like synthetic beings or something, because that's something that like people say about the Men in Black and certain types of aliens, is that they seem like synthetic humans. And it's like maybe there's something about that uncanny. It's just something, I think it's about something about the uncanny quality in them that triggers me for some reason.
It's just no movement, I think.
Yeah, it's between the uncanny quality of them and then the fact that they don't move. Yeah.
And the glazed over eyes.
Right.
Non-blinking.
Trent Jacob says, F it. I think I may have a ton of studying left to do, but you're distracting me from doing right now. But I may as well throw this student loan around to make you love me before I fall out and have to start paying it back. Well, thank you so much, Trent, for sharing your student loan money with me. I really appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. I really appreciate it. This goes a long way. So thank you very much. Mean Cheese Feta Man, that's an amazing name. Feta Mean, sorry, says, hey buddy. Hey buddy. Bad Dragonite says, what up Bigfoot haunted tinfoil armor guy? Hey buddy. Thanks for the super chat. Oranus the Ninth says, he's a witch, burn him. Also, does it taste weird? Tastes like a snowball? Well, you know what? I don't want to taste it because...
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Because it smells weird. It's starting to smell more like spent lighter fluid now. Whereas before it was literally smelling like burnt plastic.
It's probably just the smell of the gas from the lighter.
But
It wouldn't be anything in the snow.
That's exactly what it is. So... and as you can see, like, this snowball is half the size as it was before because I threw it and it broke, but it actually has not melted at all since I brought it in the house. It only melts from the heat of my fingers. So yeah, it doesn't smell like plastic anymore. It just smells like spent lighter fluid. Just smells like lighter fluid smoke. I'm not going to taste it though. You'd have to give me a much larger super chat than that. Snippy Cat says US 2016 or us 2016, sorry. Haha, I'm very smart. God not real. Stupid Josh us now. Maybe Mothman was a Russian spy. Yes, I'm so happy that we've all gone through this journey of just being overly literal and making fun of anybody that, you know, seemed kind of stupid. Well, I mean, Josh Feuerstein is not exactly. I'm not going to ever stop making fun of that guy. But I love that we're now kind of becoming our own villains here, and we're letting ourselves all go down these fun rabbit holes of crazy thought. Trent Jacobs again. This is definitely the most boring episode of Trailer Park Boys that I've ever seen.
That's the one that made me laugh.
Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Do you know what was funny as well? There was another chat too that said, will you ever cosplay as Julian?
I have considered it. I can actually I can do a really good Bubbles, actually. I can do a really good Bubbles. But I've been working out a lot, though, lately, so I think that my bicep is it's not nearly at Julian level, but it's almost big enough.
I could be Ricky.
Yeah.
I could be, like, living in a car.
Yeah.
Out the front.
I think that you could pass as a Ricky. He was blonde, so that's close enough. Yeah. But,
oh, my gosh.
The fuck you say to me? I'm gonna go get some chicken wings.
It's better. I used to have Coke bottle glasses that I would wear, and I'd go around my backyard with my brothers.
I'll sort out the trolley, the shopping trolleys for your wedding.
Oh yeah,
Ricky.
Julian says he'll take care of all the booze. I'll get rid of all the shopping carts for you guys.
Yeah, so where were we? Oh, we got a bunch more here. Local Lunar, sorry if I butchered that. When you were talking about nefarious actors, did you have spirit science? You have made a few videos about that, his crazy theories that he used to justify anti-Semitism. So I doubt you are scared to make his fan base mad. Well, we did recognize that he may have sprinkled in a little bit of that anti-Semitism into his videos, and that sort of what. Okay, so spirit science, his whole narrative was that the Jewish or the Hebrew people basically had to redo reality. You know, they had to come back and redo it again because they didn't pass the last time. They're like, they were held back in class. And so that's like very anti-Semitic. That's very anti-Semitic to say that. But like that whole attitude towards like the Jewish people, it emanates throughout a lot of these conspiracy communities. And that's part of what I was touching on there, yes. That some of these conspiracy communities do have like nefarious underlying narratives.
I don't even know if they know that they're doing it though.
A lot of them I think don't know because it is that prominent in the community and it's done in such an under the radar way that I didn't even catch on to it for like at first either. So I mean, I can see, because I didn't catch on to it right away, I can give most people the benefit of the doubt. That being said, we did find literal Nazis that had written some of these books that are very popular in the community.
Yes.
Like literal swastika on the shoulder Nazis. Neo-Nazis. So, yeah. That's you know, they had the balls to actually, like, be upfront about it, which was one thing. Right,
Do you know
whereas
what I mean?
today people
like, not
do
hiding
like
behind it.
dog whistles now. So
no, this guy was like 100%.
No, he was literally the leader of a neo-Nazi group.
Yeah,
he was like a prominent leader of a group. One
of the top authors of the books that are considered like source for that.
I don't think that Jordan, the spirit science guy, I don't think he's a Nazi. It's very unlikely. But the problem is that mindset, that belief system, like all the narratives in that community of like the giants and the Aryans and the cone heads and all of those communities have that problem. Yeah.
Because it stems back to
well, that's literally
racial profiling, I guess. You know what I mean? And it also is fundamentally like racist in the way that you can say that.
Well, we were even saying, can you see the little blitz of black floating in there now? So they're clearly not the water. They are separate from the water. They are not the ice cube that is black. So, and even if they were, they've chemically changed. Like any part of it that has chemically changed to burn. Like when you burn toast or you burn a cake in the oven, that's chemistry. You've chemically changed the molecules. But anyways, yes, like she was saying. I think I said this in one of our most recent podcasts, but this is a point that Patrice brings up all the time. But if you even just think about like the narrative that the natives couldn't have built those megalithic structures because, you know, they didn't have the ability to, they didn't have the technology. So it had to have been some other group of people, like the ancient aliens theory. Like I've always hated the ancient aliens theory for that reason. But the point that she brought up that is like so true is that it's inherently racist to say that these groups couldn't have done it themselves. And to not even entertain the idea that they had the ability to do it, or that their ancestors did.
And so that's the thing where it's like, really, the conversation should be about not that somebody else completely different done it, because in some of those circumstances, it's clear that there was some kind of technology which has been lost to history that helped them create these things. But really the focus should be on how, you know, and that's the real question, not on who. You know, maybe who a little bit, but I think the reality is that there's more than enough evidence to show that it was like native peoples or their ancestors that built that, but that the way that it has been done has been lost to history.
Right. And I think that is probably, that's the better way to go about it. Combination Calligraphy is given a couple super chats. The first one is blank. Second one, will you talk about quantum immorality? Essentially what she was talking about regarding forced reincarnation. Okay, so I mentioned that in a podcast, and I think it might have been, it was the one that your dad didn't like, the one where we talked a lot about religion. So I talked a lot about my beliefs on what Jesus was, and a lot. I seem to have a very unique perspective on what Jesus's words meant. But one of the things he talked about, he never said that you go to heaven when you die. There is no heaven that you go to. He taught reincarnation, and that's what he meant when he said that you're born again, you're given a new body. It's like you're reincarnated. And he did talk about a hell, this like separation from God, this emptiness, this loneliness, this void. And I think that what that is essentially permanently connecting yourself to this reality, the matrix or whatever you want to call it, that you're not supposed to be here forever. We're supposed to live multiple lives in this reality, that our souls are supposed to learn from our experience. And then when we're done, when the experiment is done, or the matrix has completed its cycle or whatever, you want to leave. You don't want to stay here. But people who upload their consciousness to, the AI realm, or they become immortal in some sort of technological way. You're tying yourself to the matrix. You're becoming part of the matrix. You're making that permanent. And then when the matrix is done, you're stuck here in the void, alone, separated from God, and it's just over for you. So don't do that. Don't upload your consciousness to a computer, please. Okay, so Lies and Politics says, you should do an episode on DMT machine elves. I'm a little worried about doing episodes about psychedelics in general. I actually have a problem with like Joe Rogan just so flippantly promoting psychedelic drugs like DMT and stuff like that. I feel like that's a big moral conundrum. But that being said, I would like to touch on, because the shaman and everything had been doing it forever, that was like the earliest religions, is that people would take psychedelics and then they would talk to these like interdimensional beings in the dream realm or whatever, and got a lot of their ideas from them.
I think the DMT thing is an interesting like rabbit hole to go down.
Oh, it's interesting as hell though. I'm just
when it
worried
comes
about
to like ayahuasca and stuff like that.
Well, ayahuasca is DMT essentially. That is
it is the active ingredient.
The active ingredient. Yes.
But the craziest part is that the shamans knew, and the information was passed down to them from spirit to mix it with a certain other kind of vine, which has a protein inhibitor, so that you can actually ingest it orally.
Interesting.
Because otherwise it needs to be smoked.
Right.
So it's all of that, which is really quite intriguing.
Apparently when you consume DMT orally, you almost always throw up too. I always found that funny. I mean, I'm not going to lie that the idea of trying it is appealing. But again, it's like even just talking about it in a way where it sounds like I might be promoting it. Like, I'm very worried about that. I don't want to run the risk of that. And also, it's kind of hard to talk about those subjects on YouTube because they tend to get demonetized anyways. But we would love to touch on that subject. Patrice and I are both very interested in that subject. We've talked about it at length. Matthew Thompson, always been a fan, but I'm loving the new material. I really appreciate that, bud. Thank you. One from Cosmic Mercenary, no comment. Thanks for the super chat, bud. Trent Jacobs says, there's entirely too much Kermit the Frog in that Bubbles impression, to be honest. Great, I'm flaccid now. Well, I'm sorry, I haven't actually thrown out that Bubbles impression in quite a few years. I'm a little bit rusty. I did not practice my Bubbles impression before the live stream. Anon not saying, a couple super chats here. I think you should look into it if you haven't already. In September 2019, 1/5 of all world government declassified aliens are real and were around since, at minimum, the early 2000s. Conclusion was no threat. We can't do anything to them, and they haven't shot at us yet. We shot at them a few times, only some near misses with planes. Yes, I know that several governments have said that the UFO phenomenon is real and that they don't know where they're from, and that it does seem like they're in general not hostile. But that being said, the UFO community is pretty convinced that there's a sizable amount of extraterrestrial groups that are hostile to us, and the only reason that they have not done any harm to us yet is because of those ones that aren't hostile to us are like a buffer zone between them and us, that there's something stopping them from just coming and taking us over. But I do find that interesting. There was a bill in the United States that was passed. I'm not going to say the word, the C word, about the global situation. The bill that was passed in the United States has a section in it saying that all UFO stuff or like a good deal of UFO stuff has to be declassified by the end of this year, which is so interesting. So we'll see how that works out. And I think that a lot of the stuff coming out with the To the Stars Academy and all that stuff that we're seeing on the news with Louis Elizondo and the Tic Tac and that weird rotating UFO that I did debunk videos on, I feel like those might be sort of the early stages of the declassification, but we'll see. UFOs are real. That part I know for sure. UFOs exist, but what are they and where are they from? I am very much on the fence about that. Jaximus Prime Rib, he is definitely our most generous donator here. He gives every single time we do a live stream. Says, hey man, sorry tuning in late. Just got off work. Here's my contribution to the Armored fundraiser. Also, if you liked that barking squirrel beer you had before, I think you ought to try Innis and Gun, my personal recommendation. Yeah, I've never tried Innis and Gun, but it's been suggested to me a few times. So next time I go for a beer run, I'll definitely try that out. Thanks, bud. Stephen Eves says, is Ancient Aliens really inherently racist when the theory is applied to every ancient civilization? Well, I was just using Ancient Aliens as an example because I just really don't like Ancient Aliens. But what I meant, though, is that a lot of those groups say that it was like the Aryan race that did it, or the giants that did it. And I get what you mean, though, when you're saying that it's applied to every ancient civilization. But so I get your meaning by that. That it's saying that all of humanity couldn't have done it. But that being said, I think that there are, like, what we know of as the ancient Egyptians, for example, the site where they built the pyramids, like, was very ancient, and I believe that maybe it wasn't like modern humans that built it, but a lot of the stuff that is there, they definitely did. And they did it with different technologies that we don't recognize that they had. The ancient alien people, the people on that television show, will just attribute anything like that to the aliens or to the giants or whatever, without any thought that there was ever a time when the ancient humans had the ability to do it. So that's what I mean by that. It's just that they will say literally every single thing we can't explain using the modern paradigm, therefore means that it was not humans. That part is racist because it is specific groups. It's always specific native groups, especially in like the South America. Like, yeah. So that is it for the super chats for now. Okay. And okay, so there's a fun thing I want to do now. Where is it? I had a video up. I gotta find it again. Oh wait, I know where it is. Duh. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys what I'm looking at here. Okay, so American Airlines confirms encounter with unidentified cylindrical object over New Mexico. So, a radio transmission regarding a rogue cylindrical-shaped object traveling at high speed near the Airbus A320 is authentic. So, the story is that there's a recording of a pilot from flight 2292, I believe it was. He was flying from, I believe, Seattle, Washington to Phoenix, Arizona. And while he was over New Mexico, he shot out this radio communication asking, about this target that he saw in the sky, asking if anybody had anything in the air in that area, because a cylindrical-shaped object flew over his plane at high speed. And this recording, which I'm going to play for you in a second here, what's really crazy is this recording was actually done not by American Airlines, not by the pilot, and not by air traffic control. This recording was made by an enthusiast who, in the next state over, what's the next state to the right of New Mexico? He had set up several recorders, and he just records air traffic radios for fun. He does that for fun. And he had literally just set this one up today to record this this particular frequency. And it had only been up for like a few minutes when this recording came through. And I'll play the recording right now.
2292. Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object. It almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Wow, that was so quiet. There's got to be a way to make that louder. You know what? I'm gonna mute.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Yeah, sorry guys, that's just so fucking quiet. Sorry if I wrecked your ears, guys. Yeah, sorry that's so quiet. I'll try one more time. I'll give you a second to turn up your volume. I won't blast your ears this time. So yeah, turn up your volume.
I think it's too late, Greg. I think you just...
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Yeah, sorry about that, chat. Sorry about that, everybody listening. I just destroyed your eardrums. So luckily the quote is up here if you couldn't hear it. Do you have any targets up here? So he actually starts off with saying something like, speaking of...
2292. Have any targets?
Yeah, so he says, do you have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us. I hate to say this, but it looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing, moving really fast right over the top of us. So what's really fascinating about this, though, what's really crazy, is that nobody answered him. There was... like, the standard thing for air traffic control to do in this situation is say, at very least, no, we don't see anybody up there with you. The radar says you're alone up there. Usually you get some sort of a response. But whatever it was about the description of this, the air traffic control decided to stay quiet. And I'm betting that they all put their hands over their microphones and were just like, oh, what the hell is this guy talking about? Don't say anything. So there is like, there is this sort of unwritten rule with you know, commercial pilots where, yeah, so flight 2292. Yes, that's right, Limbo Master. Thank you. H2O. That's right. Your comments are just amazing, Limbo Master. So, basically, there's this unwritten rule in commercial flight where you don't talk about UFOs openly on the air. And this guy didn't say it was a UFO. He was worried that it was a target, a cruise missile kind of thing. So he was worried that there might be some danger. And if that was the case, then there probably would have been something said. If there was something to be afraid of, something that they knew was up there. But the fact that nobody responded means that either the radar operator couldn't see anything, or they had been tracking it, but they didn't know what it was, and they couldn't communicate with it, so they knew it was unidentified. So also, like, it's dangerous to your career as a pilot to mention seeing UFOs because most people don't believe in. Excuse me. Most people don't believe in them. So, if you're going to come down to the ground and start talking about how you saw this UFO once, that's going to make passengers really nervous. They're like, "Oh, my pilot was a crazy person. I'm never flying with this airline again." So there's like a lot of pressure for these airlines to not mention it. And then also I'm assuming that, you know, because some of that stuff probably is military, that a lot of airlines have a deal with the military where they don't talk about stuff that they see that they think is military, just in case they're giving away some sort of like secret operation that, you know, the public's not supposed to know about, some sort of like top secret technology even. So that's really interesting. I'll just read just the synopsis here. Less than 48 hours after our initial reporting on an outright strange incident involving American Airlines Flight 2292 as it flew at 36,000 feet over the northeastern corner of New Mexico on February 21st, 2021, we have confirmation that the event in question did indeed occur and that it is being investigated by the FBI. So that was the other interesting thing, is that this recording came out like on the day of, and it took 2 full days for American Airlines to vindicate this pilot, because at first, when reporters first called American Airlines to get clarification on this, they actually denied it. And they said that that wasn't even their pilot and that wasn't their plane. Or at least they denied that, they had any knowledge of it. But then 2 days later, 48 hours later, when they were asked again, they said, yes, that was indeed an Airbus A320. That was flight 2292. That was real. That was authentic. And no, we don't know what it was that he saw. So and then the fact that it's being investigated by the FBI also means that it probably is a UFO. Because if it was, there's very, very few, civilian things that can go to 36,000 feet. Civilians can buy jets, but it's illegal for a civilian to go supersonic. So it's very strange, whatever this was. It's very strange that this happened. And the fact that it was cylindrical in shape, too. That's very bizarre. And the pilot didn't say that, he flew past it very quickly. He said that the object flew past him very quickly. So I take that as meaning that it was going very fast. So the incident involved pilots of the Airbus A320 being buzzed by an unidentified cylindrical shaped object moving at high speed, which resulted in them querying the FAA Albuquerque's Air Route Traffic Control Center, who, I remind you, the Air Traffic Control Center did not respond. They left him hanging. They didn't say anything. Okay, so I already said most of this. Do you have anything to add to this, Patrice?
I think there's heaps of weird stuff in the sky that we aren't privy to.
Oh, hell yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't necessarily mean it's alien. It's probably...
It's an alien, no.
It's probably military.
It is a bit weird, though, but the only thing which makes me think that, normally they wouldn't allow people to be, especially if it's a passenger jet, be flying anywhere near...
Right.
Experimental tests, if they know that there's experimental tests.
So that is the interesting thing, is that if there was something military happening, correct Limbo Master, at 36,000 feet. Is Limbo Master a computer?
I don't know.
So if there was something military, and especially something secret, flying at 36,000 feet through part of New Mexico, then American Airlines would have been privy to they would have at very least been told this area is currently a no-fly zone, reroute.
Yeah, so that's what makes me think that's a little bit unusual.
Right.
Or it could have been a lot higher, but the pilots just didn't realize. Do you know what I mean?
Well, because
at that altitude, things appear closer.
Yes. Well, that's another good point, is at that altitude, they're well above the clouds, and it says that it flew over his head very quickly.
Yeah, but that could have been, you can even see pictures of airplanes, they appear close to each other, but they're not really.
Well,
they're, tens of thousands of feet apart.
I've been in a plane going 600 miles an hour. I think it's between 500 and 600 miles an hour at cruising altitude. And I've looked out the window and saw another plane pass the exact opposite direction, also going 500 or 600 miles per hour. And it's not quick. They actually go by pretty slow. So to describe it as going by quickly, I'm assuming what that means is it's going supersonic. But like Patrice said, if it's over their head and there's nothing up there to judge size and distance by, it could have been several hundred feet above them and much larger than a cruise missile. It could have been for all we know, it could have been the size of a mothership. But yeah, everything about that story.
I was thinking that it's just a fuel canister from a satellite launch or something.
Well, then that's the other possibility, is it was something that was literally falling from space.
Space junk.
And if that's the case, then they were very lucky that it didn't hit them then.
Yeah.
Because, speaking of things that falling out of the sky, there was a plane over Colorado about a week ago that the engine just randomly burst and the entire casing of the engine fell to the ground and the engine started on fire. And the inlet ring, the entire inlet ring, landed like inches from the front door of somebody's house. Like literally inches. That if you'd opened the door would have hit the inlet ring. Imagine that. Like you walk out your door in the morning and there's part of a jet engine directly in front of you. It's not even on your lawn. It's directly in front of the door. That would be terrifying.
Yes. And they're very big.
Yes, they're enormous.
I mean? Like it's one of those things, like, you know, those photos that you see of things which are bigger in real life than what you think.
Well,
that they are.
Modern engines, like the Airbus engines, they're enormous. The Airbus makes, I think, the largest passenger jet engine right now. And so, you know how like a Boeing 747 needed 4 engines? Well, those Airbus engines, under those engines, it would only need 2 of those to power it. That's how powerful they are. So, and I don't think it was an Airbus though. I think it was a Boeing.
It was a Boeing 777.
A Boeing 777. So yeah, that would have been a general Boeing.
The 777s have been
they've been grounded. Every single one of them is now grounded because they are worried that exact same thing is going to happen, because they really don't exactly know why it failed like that. So for all we know, the 777s are just done. That they should all be retired now.
No, they've only just basically come out. They're going to be the new workhorse.
Oh my God, you're right.
You're like, let's retire the 777s.
Yeah,
You're like,
no.
what's your plan?
I don't know. How long does a plane normally
What's your
last?
plan? What's your plan then, Greg?
Are planes supposed to last longer than a few weeks?
Because
I don't know.
747s are gradually disappearing.
Right. I was thinking of the 747, yeah. So
yeah, let's pull up something from the Skunk Works. Where's John Lear when we need him? He can tell us what we should be looking forward to. There is the world first, the Hemp Plane.
Okay, so I'm going to bring that up right now, actually.
Maybe that is the future of aviation.
So this is the next story here. Return to Now. That's an interesting website. Okay, so a Canadian company, God bless Canada, a Canadian company is working on an ultra lightweight all hemp plane that runs on hemp fuel. The world's first all hemp plane is 10 times stronger than steel and fueled by hemp. So this was the theory that a lot of people had about why marijuana was made so illegal in the United States in the 50s. And it was actually like, it was all about textiles, because obviously tobacco is sold and nobody has a problem with tobacco, and tobacco like it's been proven to kill people, and it's been proven that the nicotine that they put in tobacco is one of, if not the single most addictive over-the-counter product that you can buy. Meanwhile, people have a huge problem with marijuana, and marijuana like now is very potent, but back then it was so much weaker back then. So there was a lot of debate as to why, and a lot of people said that it was because hemp textiles were the cheapest to make. That you could grow an entire field of hemp in less time than it takes to grow a field of corn, and that hemp could be turned into extremely strong things. You could use it for everything: paper, clothing, and now carbon, like essentially carbon fiber replacement, which is just insane. So the Canadian cannabis firm Hemp Earth has designed a plane made from and fueled by hemp oil. The body and wings of the plane are made from composite hemp fibers that are 10 times stronger than steel, according to the company. Even the interior walls, seats, and pillows are made from hemp. Well, that's just exactly what I said. Like almost anything can be made from hemp. And best of all, it's even designed to run on 100% hemp oil, which it won't need much of since it's so lightweight. And that's the incredible part. So obviously this is like a passenger, like a private, it's not like a commercial airplane.
It's a Willy Wonka factory for like stoners.
That's beautiful. The hemp composite material used to make the body of the plane could replace all fiberglass in aviation and many other industries. Yeah, so I guess that it's more of like it's definitely stronger than fiberglass, but I would be very, very surprised if it was stronger than carbon fiber. Hemp Earth CEO Derek Kask says. So it would be lighter weight, stronger, more durable, and more flexible plasticity. So, yeah, that's actually so cool. It's like, it is a very small plane, though. It looks like, he doesn't show the interior, unfortunately. It looks like it's a 4-seater, though. So, you know, that's like, it can carry as many people as a Cessna, you know, and I've been in a Cessna quite a few times. I've been behind the yoke of a Cessna a few times. And, yeah, so I've always wanted to get my pilot's license, and I gotta say, owning a hemp plane would be a really cool bragging right. And I really like too how it's got the inverse design where the you know, they have the stabilizing tail section instead in the front on the nose, and then I've always really appreciated the design where the propellers, the props were on the back of the plane, pushing it. That's also how Ferrari makes their airplane as well. And I feel that that's a much more stable design because I guess I can see the logic of early planes wanting to force as much air over the wings as possible to create more lift, but it's a much less smooth ride than just pushing the plane through clean air and then creating a wake of turbulent air behind the plane. What did you have to say?
We should have fact-checked that this is actually real first.
Oh, well, it would have been cool, right?
Because I do feel like, you know, it would be a fantastic, like, mile-high club joke.
But that being said, though, planes are, like, the majority of the structure of a plane is made of fiberglass, and there's no reason to believe that you can't make a hemp replacement for fiberglass. But that being said, I find it hard to believe that it's stronger than fiberglass, and I find it harder to believe that this is going to have a longer shelf life, that these planes will last as long as a fiberglass plane.
Is it made with fiberglass, though, or is it entirely?
No, it says instead of fiberglass.
Yeah.
But I guess that's true, too, is that it doesn't say exactly what percentage of the vehicle is actually made of hemp, just that it is integrated into it. I mean,
because it could be made with, like, you know, carbon fiber or anything.
Okay, we're all gonna see right now if this site is even legit.
I put it in the chat as well.
Okay. Looks like it's just like your average. Yeah, it's just like your average kind of like eclectic, neat oddities, like website. It looks like they just sort of promote like community and whatnot. Not quite new age, but you know, in that sort of vein, I guess. Anyways, we'll read a couple more super chats here, and then I'm pretty much done for the night. So if you got a super chat, post it now. Yeah, I would hate to miss it. I always seem to miss one or two just as we're signing off. They come in, but I'll try my best to catch them all.
There was one that came in just as you started talking about the other topic. I think it was from like Snippy Cat or something. And I noticed in the chat that they were a bit upset that, like, so don't miss that one.
Okay, well, yes. Okay.
See that one there?
Yes, I see one from Snippy Cat. Yes, that was the last one. So Snippy Cat, thank you for the super chat. Wouldn't be a UFO if you knew what it was, Greg. Also, is the world... Excuse me. Also, is the world just a huge zoo for aliens to oogle us? Maybe. Well, I've heard that theory before, that Earth is either a farm for aliens to harvest or it's a zoo for people to watch. And several sci-fi shows have sort of played around with that idea of humans being like a zoo display of some sort, like against their will. And maybe that is like a hint that we are like being observed. But even like big UFO believers like Linda Moulton Howe will say that the Earth is actually an experiment. It's like a giant biological experiment. And the point of it is that we're being left alone to see how we get along on our own, left to our own devices. So if aliens are coming to watch us, it's less about observing us like we're wild animals and more like checking on our progress as an evolving species and a developing civilization. So I think that that's kind of an interesting idea. Anon Not Saying Again says, yeah, I think the things that don't want us dead are the main reason less friendly ones haven't killed us yet. I didn't even like humans. Why would they? Yeah, I don't like humans. I'm not a huge fan of humanity either, Anon. Well, at least the way they behave. But I think like learning to love your fellow man, though. Learning to love humanity and learn to, appreciate each other as like one big family. I think that that's an important thing we all need to learn to do. Jesse Grillo says, love what you do. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for the super chat. Anon Not Saying Again, no offense. We as a whole screw things up a lot. Men in Black, K. A person is smart. People are stupid. I think we messed up our amicable relations a bit in 2018. Well, I think that if there is like an alien species, like that's like I've always loved the Men in Black movie. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Just absolutely love that movie. And that's such a great line too, because it's true. Like a person is smart, but people are stupid. And even Dan Aykroyd said that like September 11 screwed up any chance that we had of aliens wanting to come be friends with us, because like we're just terrible to each other. We do such terrible things to each other. And what species looking at us from the outside would, observe us and watch the way that we treat each other and then want to be part of that? Like even the evil ones are like, these guys are a bit much. Chronic says, new United States Air Force helicopter has a backwards propeller and can go as fast as a turboprop and stop super quick. Also, look up the DO-335 plane. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up now. You guys making me Google so much stuff. Okay, so that has a dual prop. It has one in the front and one in the back. That's interesting. I mean, there are like several planes that have been in production that have integrated a rear prop. I wouldn't say that I like the design of this one. It's a little too German for my liking. Plus, it has the front prop, which sort of defeats the purpose of what I was saying. Is that so? The problem is like the rear, like the front prop, it creates this like constant turbulence, like by forcing all that air past the plane. Like you're essentially shaking the plane with all that air. But if you put the prop on the back, and then you sort of just push it through clean, smooth air, it gives you like a much smoother ride. That's what I like about it. And plus, like I feel that there's less energy wasted in that way, because you're letting the wings do their thing, and you're not sort of forcing the wings to take lift by pushing the air past them. Though, like I said, that's sort of old world thinking. The reason that they needed the props in the front was because the planes were so crappy back then and the lift was so weak that they had to force air past the wing to create the lift. Otherwise, it would have just been on a runway forever. See if we got any more just before we sign out. Oh, yeah, one more from Eric Taylor. Did you see any more pop up after that?
No, I don't think
okay. So thank you, Eric Taylor. He says, yo, from South Texas, love watching your vids. Last week was hell. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Eric. Yeah, from all of you that survived that winter weather in the southwestern United States, my heart goes out to you. Limbo Master says neck beard. Thank you. I got a little neck stubble tonight. Yeah, I my heart goes out to you because, like, I know that as a Canadian, I could sit here and brag that I go through a much worse winter than you do every single year. But, you know, being in a place that never experiences that or so rarely does, and then to have to endure that for an entire week. Like, I was seeing like a lot of people, that I know that live down there that, you know, the first couple days they're having fun with it. They're like tobogganing and making snowmen, and it was just like, it was fun. But then after like third and fourth day, they're just like, I'm in hell. This is terrible. I have no power. I have no internet. My buddy's house just flooded because his pipe burst. It's like you don't, and the rolling blackouts also too. The fact that your power grid just couldn't handle it. I was actually going to mention that a little while ago too, and I keep forgetting that. I keep seeing all these people sort of blaming the rolling blackouts and stuff on the renewable energy, like the windmills and the solar energy and stuff. And that's true that your renewable, sustainable energy sort of is not set up for cold winter. That the windmills just couldn't handle the cold. And you know, obviously the solar panels had to be continuously cleaned off because they were covered in snow, and that just makes them useless. But I saw a lot of really terrible propaganda on the news saying that the renewable, sustainable energy was the reason why you had the rolling blackouts, and that you need to stop investing in that and invest more in like coal and oil. That was obviously just big oil, big carbon, trying to convince you guys to promote, you know, like more carbon emissions because they want to line their pockets more. That's a lie. It's like, first of all, don't expect that weather every year. That's problem number one. But windmills can work in the winter. I can see windmills from my apartment. There's windmills lining the entire horizon here in Kingston, Ontario. We see them working all day, every day, throughout the entire year. Windmills can work in the snow, so don't take their lies. You just don't have windmills that were designed for the snow because your climate does not regularly see snow. So it was just an oversight in the particular design. Okay, so yeah, I appreciate all the super chats, everybody. Thank you so much for all of your support. I really, really appreciate it. Again, sorry we didn't come out with a regular video this week, but don't worry, we're going to be back to our regular schedule next week. I've been working on a script about the Men in Black. I don't know that that's going to be our next video, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we got a couple of cool things. We might go back to the Philadelphia experiment.
Mm-hmm. That was supposed to be a 3-parter, so we might make part 2 for that. So yeah. Do you have anything else to say before we sign off?
If you haven't checked out the podcast,
yes,
and if you like the kind of stream format, then check out Full Metal Tuxedo. And that's on all the streaming platforms as well. So you can find that on Apple Podcast and Google Play, Podcast Addict. And you can follow us on our social medias as well.
Yes, I'm at Armored Skeptic on Instagram. And, I still have a Facebook. You can still follow me there. Patrice is Full Metal Patrice. And then we also have a Full Metal Tuxedo Instagram as well. So, follow all those socials to get up to date on all of our upcoming content. More specifically, our podcast. Keep your ear to the ground about when our next podcasts are coming out.
Yeah, and if you're a regular listener of the podcast, I'm really sorry that we haven't done a bonus episode in the last couple of weeks. But we've been keeping up to schedule with the regular episodes, which is what's most important. That's why we call them bonus episodes. So so I think that might even, be able to make this Saturday night stream. I reckon. I think I'm going to be okay.
Excellent. Oh, you better. You better.
People might like this voice a bit better.
Oh, I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, I like it.
A little bit more, kind of a bit more sexier?
Yeah, for sure. Al, have a good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Again, thank you for the super chats. I really appreciate the support. I hope you enjoyed what our little hangout tonight. And we'll see you next week with the next episode of Tell Me More. And please follow the podcast. We'll see you over there. We live stream those every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Armored Gregory YouTube channel. Have a good night, everybody.